So I'll go ahead and create a new project. Um, and I want to do this from a template. The template being um, closely related to how I envision the module actually working. So the one I chose for this demonstration is a project tracking database. So I'll go ahead and create the project. So with the summarize module, what this does, it pulls in any instruments and any variables that you find pertinent to rendering into an HTML type table. That table can be displayed as stated anywhere in your project, or also it could be within a survey or other areas like alerts and notifications through emails. So I find it a very useful type of module for those purposes to enhance your um, end user experience. And it also has a great ease of use. So some of the options um, that are documented within your external module documentation specific to this module are title. It'll support, so you can apply a title to it. So wherever it's displayed, that title will display in an HTML type format. Can be can be fully customized and um, applied to your project. It will work with longitudinal type projects. So with that, I'll go ahead and enable a longitudinal. To start, I won't use a survey. Um, We'll try to hold that off towards the end. And then what we do is we will use a comma separated list for each form you want to include. If I go in and enable the module so we can look at some of the settings, I'll go into our external module manage, provided you have the user rights and privileges to do that. And then I will enable a module since it's not currently in our display here. Um, these are by default. So I'll go ahead and add our summarize. I'm going to enable that and go into the configuration. So here we can see it's already indicating here in color and in font. Um, Event ID is required. Destination field is also required. And so we'll come back to this. But now that we have it enabled, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel out for now. We're going to go into, there are some things that I need to set up being um, our events. So I'll go ahead and define our events. And then I'll go ahead and designate instruments for our event. And for now, I'll use I'll go ahead and select all of them for now. So we're going to save that, and we're going to move over back to our module. Actually, there's one other step I'd like to, in our, I'm going to add a form, and that form is going to be titled Summary. And so I'll have to go back and designate, then it write over correctly. Let me do that again.
You have to get rid of the capital.
Oh, thank you, Carol. I noticed that simultaneously. Thank you. So I have to go back and designate, but I'm going to go ahead and add our field. So I'm going to add a field. I'm going to add one descriptive field. And for this one, I'm going to back up. This one should be since I'm going to use this specifically for pulling in our table so it has somewhere to display. But the recommendation is to have apply the action tag @hidden. So we'll pull that. I'm going to hide this by using @hidden. That field will not display within any area in your survey and or data collection instrument. I'll save that. Another key point is that, let me get back in here, the validation, there should be no validation applied. And we'll go back into our designation, setup. And we'll look at our configuration. So within our configuration, it's asking for our event ID. Something that I want to point out, the way we see an event ID is it's actually numerical. Um, if we go into our events, the event ID as stated is over on the rightmost column, and it's a numerical type of expression. But what we want here, when we see it, it's an event ID, and it's using, it's actually using the label. So we can look at our configuration fields. Here, this will add an additional configuration, and what that does, it'll apply by arm. So for now, I'm just going to configure one, so I'll remove this one with the minus. So here, the text field that I indicated was the summary, so I'm going to pull that up. It's here at the bottom. And then for a title block, this is where our HTML supported to create really nice displays for the output. So for that, I have pre-formatted a title. I'll go ahead and paste that in. That's using our CB2 website logo. And then here, I'm going to list our forms. So for that, and forgive me for doing so, but the way these modules should be tested out when you're looking at them, you have, and I mean, considering the types of projects that are currently in use, when you have forms, um, multiple forms that you want to display, and the behavior of the module being, so this is a comma separated value that I rendered. So this is all the forms that were from that template. Okay, and so now what we have here is list our individual fields. Since that template has pre-formatted fields and variable names, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for that. I also pre-rendered as comma separated values as well, all of our field labels. So for that, I actually removed two. The reason being is I want to take a look at the list of fields to exclude. So we have the ability to exclude certain fields. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and test two fields, and they're not included in this list. So I'm using date sent, participant, and some other things that um, may be identifiers. But since it's just for demonstration purposes, I'll say that these are more so identifiers, and I want to exclude those. The other thing that it can do is it can exclude your form completion statuses. So for example, when you run a data export, you're going to get across for each respective instrument, you'll get a completion status. And that's what that's referencing here. So for example, the first form is titled project. The second one is workflow. And with that, for example, with the workflow and project, you would have your initial or your name, your form name, and then it would say project form complete with underscores, separated by underscores. So I'm going to exclude the completion statuses for now, so that they're not rendered into the table or into the report. And then what we'll do is we're gonna go ahead and go into I like the way this looks, but by default, the display field values under field names, um, I just like the way that renders. And so rather than putting two columns, it'll use, it'll list each respective variable label and not the variable name. So with that, I want to bring up some of the assumptions that are included for the module. When we look at the assumptions, give me 1 second, I'll pull that document up. So you have, so for here can you see that okay?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. So some of the verbiage here I was not completely sure about, but this is what the assumption is that you always display labels. So that I understand that's going to be the field label, but not titles. So titles, I'm thinking that's the variable name that's included in your data dictionary, and that's exported, or that's the output. So you'll see your project underscore ID and so forth. Excuse me. So the other assumption, we filter HTML tags from labels that might be harmful, embedding them into a form. And then you do not need to include fields on an included form. And then that's kind of what I referenced earlier, is that if we're going to exclude the field, you don't apply that to your individual field's location or within the configuration. So that's important distinction to make. And then also for your valid configuration checks, um, I think this should be separated. I'm not sure. I've never seen this term and I didn't have a chance to look it up. Text area. I don't know if that's a compound word or anyhow. The destination field must be of type text, and we made that a type text and should not have any validation. Um, and the destination field must be in the same event. So we're using two events, and the destination field is currently. So this I was kind of unsure about. So this when you're looking at this, this could potentially be um, if we're using a longitudinal project and we have our and we have our events mapped out and our designations by form. I tried running two separate fields and then applying some branching logic as well um, for those respective fields as they should be rendered. But I don't think that resulted in the output, the desired output. So this is also interestingly, this could be a repeating form. And again, the destination must also be in the same form. Um, and let's see here. We're gonna go back to our configuration. So here, I'm gonna go ahead and check that since that's the desired. And here I'm gonna make column, and I think this is the appropriate formatting for it. I'm gonna display blank fields. I'm gonna leave that unchecked for now. I don't want to see any blank fields. And then primary display color, I'll go ahead and use some of our home font, or excuse me, home color distinctions, and it's using an HTML characters for that or formatting. So we're going to use, and we have primary and secondary. So this is what we're going to see. And then the force refresh.
Those are the same color. Is that what you wanted?
Oh, thank you, Carl. Yeah. So let's see. Let me, I'll go ahead and make this one. And so each time that I come back during the demonstration to actually update the configuration, this is useful in that it'll update it'll update across your records in the summary. So that's useful. So like for example, if you already have records in your project, that would apply. This is a separate type of module. This module I didn't have enabled in this project, and I won't have enabled in this project. This is an admin type module, and it functions separately at the system level. So we're not going to check that. So we're going to go ahead and save this configuration, and we're going to go over and into our we're going to start adding records. So for this, we're going to go add and create a record. And again, pardon extending these out and including them, but I think it's useful in the sense that I wanted to see the behavior of the module when that many fields are applied to it. So here I'm just going to save and go to the next form. And autofill. And we'll try to go through this quickly. Bear with me.
And of course, everybody knows autofill is only available to administrators.
Thank you, Carol. That's specifically to administrators, and we did an autofill. There are external modules that may do the same, but they're more pre-formatted type variables and data. And these are just actually, I'm going to say not fictitious data, but not actual. So interesting. So since I didn't see this earlier, so since the preview,
It's because you autofilled it twice.
okay. Thanks again, Carol. So this is coming near our, and luckily these are short forms. This is one of our longer forms within the project. That rendered okay, and then we're going to go ahead and save and exit the form. And
Do you need to add your descriptive field?
I did, thank you. And also what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and set up an alert notification because that's how I see this being used. I'm just going to call it summary. And here we're going to apply any form, any completed status. And this is going to be from me to me, just as a test. And here I'm going to apply some HTML font. I'll go ahead and add that label. So I'm kind of backing up on steps here, and we'll have to go through that process again. My apologies. But this is, let's see, we're going to go to our designer, summary. I'll just copy the field. And we're going to make this descriptive. And not hidden. And since this field can be useful for piping, we'll go ahead and add the piping syntax. Make sure I have everything configured correctly. And then the field summary is not found in your project. Field summary, why isn't that found?
Because you called it summary, not summary field.
Good eye, Carol. Okay, so
In
designer.
your
Yeah,
paste.
I got you. That's a summary. And go back into our
Fix your
alerts and
piping.
notifications. Go ahead, Carol.
Oh, you needed to fix your piping as well.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to
Not
take
there.
this summary field. I'm not going to use that here for this. And that's fixed. And we'll add another record. One of the things that I did test was pulling in data as import. And so when that's imported, we don't get the table, the alert notification won't pick it up. So that's important to note. Um, I just want you to be able to see all the data. So like, for example, and again, so, okay, so here's our summary.
But
Just going to
it's,
save and exit. Yeah, it's not displaying, but I want to see whether or not I do get
well,
the
you
email.
haven't fixed the piping on your summary instrument.
Give it 1 minute. I'm going to check the email. Um, and I'll also fix that. Thanks again, Carol. So this is,
Sure.
did I? And I have, your summary report here. Oops. So that didn't render. Something is amiss. Okay, so we're gonna go back. Something wasn't correct. Um, so to manage summary field, since it's longitudinal, um, and since let's test the update. So we'll actually go to the dashboard and see if that pulled that in as well. Another thing that's nice about it is it will when it works, it will pull the summary information in your table into your reports. So automatically, if you have that field within your report, it'll display within your report. Um,
Michael, you have a configuration problem with your module you want to check.
okay, let's take a look here again. Let's see here. Destination field is required. Yes, thank you. So we're gonna go back here and we're gonna save that. And check the render.
You still have a problem. Destination field summary underscore 2 is not of type or of type text. So you want to resolve that.
Designer. So we'll do this on the fly. So this is um, our destination field. This is our destination field, I thought. So, and it's hidden.
Should it be summary
And
field, not summary two in the configuration?
summary field. Did I pick summary 2, Carol?
It looks like it,
And then summary 2.
no, in the configuration.
Thank you. Yeah. Just checking that. So this is one more time. I'm gonna apply this. Did I? So summary. And let's check our render. And here we go. So here's our rendering. Here we have our project ID, and these are the fields specifically that we mentioned or selected for. Let me see. That's not going to apply to the email, obviously, since it's already been distributed, but we'll have to run it again and take a look at that. So this is what we get. I do want to show you the exports. So we'll go over to our exports, go over to data exports, reports and stats, view the report. And then if you notice, one of the things about this display is that we have a large or long type field range, and we see our first record here. And then similarly, we see the same thing there. So that's one of the, just want to check that to ensure. And then if we look over here, hopefully that displays as well. So here's our report. And so with that, like for example, if you use this within and that was one of the notes, is that, like, for example, if you have any action tags or HTML, some of it may not display in some areas. So you kind of want to be careful with that. And here's our second record. I'm gonna go back over and run another record just so that we can see the email output. So let me go into our record, add record. And I'm just going to jump across here. If you notice, it picks it up right away. And so it's already depicting that there's information being collected. And so when we go into the summary, what we have so far is pulling from these two forms. So I'm going to save this and get the email. And we selected not any blank fields or missing data for it. So we'll wait for the email to come in here. 1 second. So okay. So here's our second email report. Here's our summary report. We have our, obviously I'm using a dark mode within the application of the email. And so the two colors that I used to render were the red and white for the text. Here's the text within the alert notification. And this is the bulk and whole of all the data for those two forms. I like it. I think it's a very useful, very util type of module, specifically for the type of project that I use to create it or use it or test it. It's ease of use. It took me a while to set it up. I missed a couple of things, but again, I did this in a matter of, I did it yesterday, actually, I think. And so I was working on another module that I wanted to present, but that presented errors. And so I had to make a quick shift and change to be able to present to you here today. So this is what we have. Any questions on that? so far? No? Okay, so I'm going to go back over to the configuration. We're going to go back in to our second arm, or second event, excuse me. So I'm only using one arm. I'm going to use two events. And if I apply the same thing, what it does, it'll stack, meaning within the email, it'll stack the report since they're separate events. Rather than go through that, it's the same, but the process being is that it'll stack the report one on top of each other, and if there's multiple records, it'll display each record. Um, so, and that is, I thought we had selected force refresh. I'm going to save that. So down below we have our event ID, where's the data located? So we're going to say so it's going to be an event 2. So with that in mind, again, so like if we have one form, that summary form, and the field exists within that form, if we read the configuration documentation, it'll state that specifically. Let me see if I have this correct. We have that the destination field must be in the same event as the source fields for classical or longitudinal. So that tripped me up a little bit. So the destination field must be in the same event as the source fields. So if we're looking at two separate events and we have one form that should be applied and we can designate that within REDCap across each instrument. And I go into the display. So we have our designer. We're looking at the instruments. Do we really want to copy that and make another field? I don't think that's necessary. So like if we go over to our setup and we look at the designated instruments, we have them all selected. So, and since this works in that fashion where you can actually apply the same instrument across events and similarly across arms. So like if I had another arm and I wanted to apply that to an additional arm and additional events, I don't think that would require to make an additional form for each. So you would just apply your branching logic and you would apply your syntax to read that in. I wasn't successful with that, but I'll continue to test it. But the alerts and notifications are a good place to use this. Also the other thing I wanted to test for, which I haven't done yet, is the project dashboard. And since it states that it could be used for any type of or any area within the project, including repeating events, I didn't get that far with it, but I think the basic premise is there. It seems very straightforward. I like the documentation for it. And for the most part, I think I covered everything within the configuration page. Additionally, for the changes, for the latest changes, they occurred in 23. And then for future enhancements being with options, auto 1.2 or 1:2 ratio and 2:1 ratio, and then also include section headers. That would be interesting to see as well. So this is, I didn't find too many errors other than when I created a separate project for it. I tested it within there, and then I had multiple. Let's go to that project. So I've had multiple types of records being with surveys, and that's when I started getting the errors. I don't know if that's probably something I did in there, but nevertheless, it was working fine. And once I started applying the survey configuration, it was kicking the errors. So that has further testing as well. So then when I look at the dashboard for this, and oh, I deleted them. Anyway, never mind. So that's basically what I have for it. Any other questions?